All right. Hi. My name is Ian. Well, of course, my name is Ian. So I'm just gonna give like a quick little rundown on this image right here about the cerebrum and the lobes of the brain. All right. So our cerebrum would is everything like up here. So this whole section right up here is considered the cerebrum. Um, and the cerebrum is so it's like a large cauliflower-looking structure. It's the outermost portion of the brain, and it's the largest part of the brain. All right, so let's start with all these terms right here. So the central sulcus would be right here, and that separates the well in the bigger picture, it separates the frontal lobe from the parietal lobes, sort of. But I think our main focus for this is the post and the precentral gyrus. We'll get to those in a little bit. All right, and then the lateral sulcus, that divides the frontal, so this portion right here, the frontal, and then the parietal. So probably be the parietal right here. So it separates the frontal and the parietal from the temporal. So the temporal is this guy right here. So there would be some kind of the lateral sulcus would be somewhere right here, and then the transverse cerebral fissure separates the cerebrum. So going back to what I was talking about earlier. So sorry, just let me erase these guys right here. So as I was saying earlier, so the cerebrum is all this. So again, it includes all of our lobes. This is cerebrum, and then the cerebellum would be down here in this like little section. So there would be some fissure right there in this area that separates those two. All right, going back. So obviously we sort of introduced the lobes earlier, but we'll go over them again. So obviously up here, I have my frontal lobe. Back here, I have my occipital. This would be my temporal, and this is my parietal. All right. So I believe I have to give a little bit of background to these lobes. So I'll just do a quick little rundown. So the occipital lobe back here is actually our visual center, which is a little bit strange because you would think it's up here in the front, but it's really not. So information comes in through our eyes, it hits the retina, and then neurons pass that information all the way back here. The frontal lobe is our motor control center and logic and emotional center as well. So a lot of our actions come from here, as well as reasoning and whatnot. Temporal is mainly auditory, but the Wernicke area is in the temporal lobe, or is around it, and the Wernicke area is what helps us to process thought and start to form thoughts, which will then be translated into speech in the Broca's region, or the Broca area, which is in the frontal lobe. But that's for another time. And then the parietal is our sensory center. Obviously, we were now I'm going to go back to these guys, the post and the precentral sulci, my bad. So the parietal, again, is the sensory center. And so the post central gyrus is our, I believe it is our sensory, it's like our sensory center. Yeah, it is where all the sensory info comes into. Uh, yeah, this is where all the sensory info comes into. So all this info includes pain, temperature, chemical exposure, joint movements, and muscle enlargements and whatnot. So that all goes up through there. And then the one in front is the pre-central gyrus, and that is for everything motor related. So um, it it's the intention. So for example, say that there was you would want to like contract a muscle. It would start from up there, and then it works its way down through the upper motor neurons, down through the lower motor neurons. You would exit your ventral root horns of the spinal cord. Then it would go through the spinal nerves of whichever plexus that may be. If you're going to move your arm, that will most likely be in the thoracic plexus. Yeah. All right. And then continuing on, right. So the cerebellum right there. So the cerebellum is the smaller, this is a smaller little area right there. So, all right. So let me clear all this up. All right. So it is this small little area right here. Whoops. All right. So it's this area right here. It's cauliflower shaped. It is posterior. And it sits right on top of the occipital bone. Some things that the cerebellum is responsible for is mainly coordination of eye and body movements and smoothing muscle contractions. Those are the two most important things that it can do. That's it for this quick little tutorial. Thank you. Just gotta figure out how to